So, um, who should I start with?
Let's start with Paula.
And I have been volunteered. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, right. This is Paula's chart. All right. So before I get super into it, I just kind of want to give a quick lay of the land. So we all know what we're looking at, because sometimes, if we're not familiar with looking at birth charts, it's like, what the fuck is all this shit? I don't know. It's like all hieroglyphics. Okay. So this right here, this bold line that goes from left to right. This is the exact point where the horizon was the moment that you were born. And this is where we get what's known as, and these are like all very similar things, the rising sign, the ascendant, the first house. These are all kind of like very similar things, and probably all heard this terminology. So rising and ascendant are the same thing. And if I didn't know any of your birth data and I was just looking at this chart, I would know that you were born in the daytime because the sun is above the horizon and not, below the horizon. This point, so this is like a wheel, right? So as the sun, let's say we go 2 hours later, if we were to go 2 hours later, the sun, this whole wheel would turn. So like sun is still in Virgo, but Virgo would be in the 7th house, and then Pisces would be in the 1st house, if that makes sense. The 7th house. Did I say that? Virgo in the 7th house? Said that?
No.
And Pisces would be in the 1st house. So that's kind of why so this is like the most personal part of anybody's chart, because it's like this 2-hour gap, and it's like in this 2-hour gap, you decided, or I mean, this is also like questionable because it's like there's induced births now. Somebody decided, or you decided, like this is when you were going to be born. Mm-hmm. This was the exact moment you took your first breath. It's like that time you were born is here. The horizon was right there. So whereas, the moon and the sun are the next that are most personal. The moon spends 2 days in each sign. So it's like if you were born 2 days later, then it would have been in Cancer. Your moon would have been in Cancer. And then the sun would be like the third and the most personal, because the sun spends roughly 30 days in each sign. So if you were born like, 3 or 4 days later, then it would have been Libra. So this is number one. This is the most personal. So because this is the moment that you took your first breath and the moment you decided to be born, this is like your motivation for living. And that motivation for living, I did not make this up. There's an astrologer who a lot of you have maybe heard of, Chani Nicholas. That is like her catchphrase for that particular point. And I thought that was like the best thing to sum it up, like what that degree point is. So for you, Paula, your motivation for living is Aquarius. It is like embodying Aquarius, the energy of Aquarius. Not to say that there's like other layers, like yes, you are very like moon in Gemini, but like, and this is your motivation. Like, this is why I live. Aquarius is very individualistic and unique, but not so much about like standing out in the individuality. That's Leo. Leo's like, I want to shine in my individuality. Aquarius is like, we're all individuals and we're all doing this together. I don't want to shine. I'm not the only one here. Like, we're all here in this together. It's an air sign. So with air, it's, you're like intellectual, communicative, relational, like that's very airy. you know, Aquarius sometimes gets like this rep of, you know, being like distant or detached. One of the reasons Aquarius like kind of gets this is because its ruler is Saturn, which I'll touch upon a little bit later. And it is the planet that we can see with the naked eye that is like furthest away from us, therefore like distant, like that symbolism of like this is like the boundary or the distance of our solar system that I'm able to see with my naked eye. Therefore, like I don't want to shine. I'm like over here. I don't like you can barely see me, but I'm over here. But I'm still here, I promise.
She's still shining. She's still shining.
She's
Yes.
still shining. She's over there
Yes.
shining, but she's like, no, we're all shining. We're all shining together. Sweet. So even though like the Aquarian quality of like being like distant or disconnected, like that may come off, there's also this quality of Aquarius of like you're there for people. Like I think every person I know that has heavy Aquarius or significant Aquarius in their chart, they're like, yes, there's this, but I'm here for you. Like whatever you need, I am here for you. We're all in this together. We all need to rely on each other. We're a community. Like without community, like how can we do anything? I am here for you. You believe in equity and fairness. I'm going to quote my personal astrologer. Their name is Michael. They said that Aquarius is like, I learn the rules to break the rules. Like I want to understand this whole thing, but like this doesn't make sense because it's not fair to everybody. So like, why the fuck are we doing it this way? Like, no, we can't do it this way. We got to change it. So there's like also this quality of being very innovative or like, it's so interesting. Like I was like thinking about this. I'm like, oh, Rebelize change. That's Aquarius. Like Aquarius is the
I'm
rebel.
like,
Fuck the rules and let's change it.
I was like, Paula, this is you, girl. This is you. Anyway, whoa. Yeah. I love it.
So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna pause there. How is this landing for you so far?
Yeah, I mean, so far it's yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, I'm gonna shift gears and talk about Saturn then because Saturn rules Aquarius. And Saturn is right up here. It's like the cross with like this little tail at the end. It's in Libra, it's in the 9th house. And the ruler of your rising sign, the ruling planet of your rising sign, and this is, you know, for everybody's rising sign, it's like you have this motivation for living, right? And I almost think of like the motivation is the lane that you're in. Like, this is my lane, this is my motivation. And the ruling planet is almost like the driver, like what is driving you and supporting, what is going to support you in staying in that lane of motivation. And it's appropriate that you're moving to LA as I dissect to this part. But it has to do with long distance travel, foreigners, foreign travel, politics, philosophy, higher education, astrology, yoga, religion, broadcasting, like just your beliefs, like da, da, da. Or like those moments where you have like these aha moments of like, oh my God, this, and it just changed my whole belief system around this thing. Like that's very like 9th house topics. So what this means is if you follow the energy of where the ruling planet of your rising sign is, you will always stay in your lane. So it's like if you continue to expand your mind or your knowledge or your awareness of like these bigger pictures, like what is the meaning of life? What are my beliefs? Continue to learn, continue to teach. Like this is like, I think more of a teacher house, the 9th house. It's also learning, but it's also like, it's really teaching. and like learn about things that are foreign to you. It could be different cultures, it could be travel, it could be like whatever is foreign to you, or whatever is like a bigger picture beliefs. It could be spirituality, it could be religion, it could be like any of that, these like bigger picture belief system things that will support you in like staying in that lane. With Saturn in Libra, Saturn thrives in Libra. It actually thrives more in Libra than it does in the signs that it rules, which is Capricorn. Capricorn is this little like N looking thing, and Aquarius, because so Capricorn and Aquarius carry a little bit more of like a black and white way of like yes and no, you know? With Capricorn being earthy, like earthier things tend to be a little bit more like it's what I can see, therefore it's like yes and no, there's no gray area. And Aquarius, even though it's an air sign, this particular air sign is can be rigid in thinking of like the yes or no, there is no gray. Lucky for you, you have Saturn in Libra. And this air quality, the Libra is like, no, we got to collaborate. We got to like think, we got to weigh out all of the options. It's not yes and no. Maybe or yes or no. Maybe it's yes and no. Maybe it's all of it. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's like, well, have we thought about something else? Like, and it needs to be the middle ground. Like, what is going to be the compromise? How is this going to have the most amount of impact in a beneficial way and like the least amount of harm? Like what is the middle? That's why Saturn really thrives in Libra. So you have a very strong Saturn placement, which is great for your the driver of your seat. You know what I'm trying to say. Any questions? Anything coming up for you?
A lot of it sounds like me.
I'm like smiling and laughing over here because it's like, this is so spot on.
Yeah.
Because what I know, what I know, and Paula's, you're about to embark into a whole new journey, and to the other side of the country. It's in the conversations that we've had in between this time. Yeah. And it, I mean, this just from my perspective, it's like, wow. Yeah.
Love it.
You're doing the right things, Paula. You're doing the right things. Okay. There you go.
Yeah. And okay, I'm going to shift into the sun. The sun tends to be everybody's like intro to astrology because it's like the first thing we learn. It's like, what's your sign? And that when people say, what's your sign? It's like the sun was in this sign when you were born. So sun in Virgo, which both of you have. Yeah. And sun in Virgo, there's a few archetypes that connect with Virgo. The priestess, herbalist, doulas, they're like the caretaker, of a person that is maybe needs support or like needs navigation through something. And, it's like the support that Virgo offers, that you offer, is like the refining or the tending. Like it's never ending. It's like you keep coming back. It's never like done. It's never complete. It's because ultimately, like most things aren't, right? Like there's always a tending to and a coming back to, of sorts with Virgo. With, those qualities about you with Virgo, your sun, Virgo, 8th house. 8th house. So where I'm gonna backtrack for a second. So sun is how you shine. So how you shine is the refining and the perfecting, right? And like giving that level of support to others, even for yourself, like in your routines and everything that you do. Where the sun is like where you shine. So where is it? In the 8th house. What does the 8th house symbolize? The 8th house symbolizes, and I'm quoting my astrologer. I actually, they said this in a reading that I had with them a few months ago, and I was like, that is the best like summation I've heard of the 8th house. It has to do with the ways in which we are interdependent and dependent on others and with others. And that encompasses, it could be finances in general. Like if you have shared finances with somebody, whether it's, a partner, and that could be business partner, that could be romantic partner, that could be a roommate, that could be like any kind of reliance you have with those kinds of resources. It could be debt, it could be taxes. Things that also fall under this chart are death. It could be literal death, it could be metaphoric death. Psychology kind of falls under this, as well as the 12th house, but 8th house. So where you shine, what I was thinking about with this was like, like I know I mean, maybe you have, and I don't know this, but people that have sun in 8th house, like they're really great fundraisers, or they're really great at managing like other people's money for them, like a financial advisor, because it's like, okay, these resources I'm going to take from other people that like this community needs and depends on, like that's like where I shine and how I can use this strength. Also, people with sun in 8th house, it's either, perhaps their relationship with death has allowed for them to be able to hold grief, or what that process is like or feels like, in this very unique way, and is able to be supportive with other people in that sense, even in like a psychological sense, because psychology falls under this house, like the depth of somebody's like psyche and mind and their own patterns, and being able to sit with them and like unravel them or unpack them and be supportive in that way. And how great, like that Virgo energy, and like fine tuning and like getting into, like we can get to all these little intricate details, like surrounding your mind and like really unraveling whatever it is that you need to process. So yeah, that's kind of all of that with that house. It's a very deep house.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
love a deep house. Wow. That's just listening to that, I'm like, I'm afraid to see mine. Not afraid, but it's more of a, I don't know what to expect, to be honest. I don't. But it's just, again, I'm a spectator right now. I'm watching Paula have her. So I'm listening to all of this, and again, because I know you, Paula, and just based on all the conversations we've been having every day, whether it be text or whatever, like it's just so spot on.
Yeah.
So spot on. Wow. Fascinating.
How are you doing so far, Paula?
Good.
Okay, I'm gonna jump into the moon, the final piece. So the moon, your physical and emotional needs. And the moon is in Gemini. So you have even though you're, sun in Virgo, and I think Virgo out of all the earth signs is like the least, it's earth, don't get me wrong, but it's like not as, I guess, rigid or like rooted in earth. It's earth. It's a little more like dynamic and like moves a little bit more, because mutable, it's a mutable sign. But you have like an air heavy chart. You're like more air, you have a very air heavy chart because of, you have like all this action going on in Libra. I know we're doing like a mini reading, so I'm only focusing on like specific things, but you have a lot in Libra, you have Aquarius as your rising sign, and then you have Moon in Gemini. So anyway, so Moon in Gemini. So physical and emotional needs, that relates with Gemini, like it's like questions. I like what comes up is questions and curiosity when I think of Gemini. It's like, oh, what about this? And da, 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 da. Like, what do you think about this? And like, even if it's something you don't agree with, it's not about whether or not you agree with it. You just want to know about it. If you want to like research something, you're gonna look for the information and you're gonna find it. And I almost think of like, I don't know, I just have like this nail polish here. I don't know. Like, okay, I see like this side of the nail polish, but what about this side? And then this side and this side. And now what are the wording and what's inside of it? And like, that's Gemini, like just getting like into the details of everything and wanting to know everything about it. And then there's also something with Gemini that can be a little bit, like, okay, with all this like conversation and questioning, it's like, oh, but what about that thing over there? And then it's like you change topics, and then all of a sudden it's this other thing. And then there's like, oh, like curiosity about this. And I'm like, oh wait, but what about this thing? I like got distracted. Now I'm back here. And like, what about this thing? It's like this ongoing conversation, I guess. An ongoing, like wanting to know all the things. It's very much about information gathering. And so for you, it's like being in that dialogue with like the people that you're around, or even with yourself, if you're, like in dialogue with yourself, whatever it is.
Oh no, I think we dropped her. Oh no. Hold on. Oh, she's back. Awesome. Phew. Welcome back.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. We were both like, what just happened?
Well, Mercury's about to go into retrograde, so.
Boy.
Okay.
Is that a bad thing?
No, Mercury in retrograde is not.
What is Mercury going in retrograde?
In a few days, hold on, I can tell you right now.
It has this negative connotation though. People like immediately, I see it all the time, the memes,
Because Chris and I are having things end and begin next, what is it, next
on the
week?
9th, next week.
Well, mine on the 9th, but you, well,
yeah,
you
there are big things
on the
happening.
1st, on
Well, the
Monday.
2nd, really technically, yeah.
Oh, so kind of next week, we're both having.
Yeah.
On August 14th, Mercury goes into retrograde, but then there's something called like its shadow period, which means Mercury starts to slow down. It doesn't literally slow down. It's our relationship, like the way that here on Earth with the sun and Mercury, the way it's positioned, it like appears as if it slows down and goes backwards, but it doesn't literally happen. It's like this weird phenomenon, that's like not like an actual thing. But anyway. Okay. So Moon in Gemini. Okay, so I think I like finished my thought with that. So now Moon in the 5th house. So Moon in the 5th house. So the 5th house is like the fun house. It is creativity. I feel like that's like the basis of the 5th house is creativity. And then there's like all these things that connect to that are creative. So children in your life. So fun, as I said, sex, sexuality, eroticism, romance, pleasure, games, all that falls in the 5th house. So
Fun house, yeah.
It is a fun house. So it's like living out that creativity. Maybe it is sex and sexuality, but then it's also children. I know you work with children. So like connecting with children, and like, I know your nieces have been like really significant for you in your life and have played like such a big role in your life. And, and like watching them grow up and all of that. So like children are important for you, and they fuel your like physical and emotional needs. Like they really support you with that. And you find like that fun and creativity and like connecting with them, and also being like this mentor to them, you know, like there's this I'm just gonna touch upon this quickly, that line right here, it's called a trine. So your moon is trining Saturn. A trine is a positive relationship. So it's like you being this teacher for children. It's like it's a positive relationship, and it's something that's significant and supportive for you in not only your motivation for living, but also like your physical and emotional needs. So just considering like how your career has like taken this turn over the past few years, and like this is the direction that you've been going in. If we were just to only look at your chart, it seems as though like you are fulfilling that motivation.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anything else?
No, wow. I mean,
I'm in awe. I'm in awe.
so
Yeah.
far, I mean, everything, yeah, describes me a lot.
And you know what? And in turn, even though yes, we say we share the same signs, we're still different.
Mhm.
But it helps me also, even though I'm sort of like saying yes, 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 that's Paula, but it also helps me even just understand you on a deeper level as well, and understand the motivation behind it, not just like, why does Paula want to know 5 different things right now? Why is she questioning this Google Doc right now? Why is she it helps me understand, because you are someone that is curious, and you do question the processes, and it helps me understand, and it validates that.
Mhm.
So I'm not like, oh, here she goes again, just picking through my Google Doc right now. No, just kidding. But it's true. Like it helps me, like, I get it now. A lot of like moments were like, I get it now. Like, yeah. So that's,
Yeah, I like to research things and look at things from different
yeah,
perspectives.
you do. And I listen, and I appreciate that, because we don't always, we're operating from different lenses all the time, depending on what we're jumping in and out of. But you provide that perspective. That's why I think you and I have gelled so well with these projects that we get ourselves into,
Yeah.
and why it works. So, but yeah, for me as your partner in this endeavor, it helps me understand you deeper.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like that, that's coming up for you, Chris, because like when like I kind of like wrote some notes down for Paula's chart, and then I wrote some notes down for you, and then I'm like, oh, that makes sense, like that they're working together. And it's also, there's something called synastry in astrology, where you can take two charts and like see how, you know, they interconnect and relate, and what's challenging, what's a strength, and da da da.
Oh.
And like when I was thinking about that, I was like, the working relationship is like ideal. Like I see how they've like gravitated towards like
Yeah, because I mean, it's not the first time, certainly, that we've taken on projects together, or share these ideas and help each other build on certain ideas. And each time it has been, it's been positive, so it makes sense.
From the first moment we met, it was
Yeah.
like, it's like we knew
Yeah.
each other our whole lives.
Yeah. It's like, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. Let's
We are
do
gonna
it
do all
now.
these things. Yeah. No.
And we're always like the Virgo sisters. This is my Virgo. How you doing, Virgo sister, in September? Because I'm like the very last day of August. So, but
right.
September, the September Virgos, they're, it's funny, because I know all the Virgos that I know are September Virgos. And they're all feel like they're very elite. The elite. Because they're like, we're in September, okay? And so, including my father, it's very interesting relationship. But because he was August 2nd, and I'm here, and dangling in the end of August, but it's interesting.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna switch gears now.
Okay.
Make sure. Wait, because I have like the. Okay, there we go. All right.
Ooh, this one looks very different.
Okay. So the bold line, I know it looks different because it's like kind of at a diagonal instead of straight across. And, you know, there's like different platforms and applications for pulling up charts, and then just this one that I use and my style, because there are different styles of astrology. This one always sets like the left to right, the horizon line this way, but that just means this is the beginning of the first house. They kind of like, for whatever reason, this program does it that way. So the horizon, this is like really, like if you were to turn the wheel a little bit, it'd really be here, and it's in Pisces. And it's 29 degrees of Pisces. So it's at the end of Pisces. So again, right, if we were to look at your chart, I would know that you're born maybe like an hour and 45 minutes after the sun set. So you were born at night. So just to kind of layer on another thing. So like if the chart were a day chart, the sun is stronger and like a little more significant. If you were born at night, then the moon is a little more significant. Not that the sun isn't, it just carries a little bit of more weight than a day chart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your motivation for living, it's so funny because like when you were talking in the beginning, Chris, I was like, Pisces rising, Pisces, like all this stuff you were saying. Pisces coming out. When I think of Pisces, I think of like what we think about, or at least what I think about when I think about the archetype of water. It's like there's no separation. Like water is water. There's no separation. There's no way to cut it. It's just like together. And Pisces is like the ocean. It's like this vast pool of water. It is the deepest water and the most vast water that we have. And, you know, with that, you know, because Pisces is water, Pisces is like very emotive and intuitive and empathic. And Pisces can feel all the things. Like, you know, if you really wanted to, you could probably like feel the world, you know, like that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It feels like I could just feel it all, you know. Anybody with, I think strong Pisces placements, you know, ascendant being included in that. And I have my moon in Pisces, so I can relate to a lot of this too. It's you probably, I'm assuming, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, like you could have a stranger just start like pouring their soul out to you. And it's like, they probably never said this to anybody, but for whatever reason, they feel comfortable like sharing their load with you, like whatever they're carrying.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
you know, like the practice of Pisces, Pisces rising, Pisces moon, Pisces sun, is that energy is not mine. Like that's like the practice of Pisces. Like I love and appreciate that people can be open with me and at least they have some outlet, even if I don't fucking know them.
Yeah.
All right. And it's not mine. Not mine to carry. You can leave it on the table. You know, it's like you're like a little sponge because you're water. So you're like absorbing, you don't even know it. Like you're just absorbing energy all the time.
Yeah.
So, you know, you feel the vibe in a room. You could feel like something's off with a person. Oh, they're just putting on a front. Like something's going on. Like, I don't know about that. Everything's fine. Bullshit. Like, what's going on?
This is a spot on. Oh my gosh. All right. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I confirm all of this. Yes.
Very giving, very generous. Maybe can lean on the codependent, you know.
Oh
side
yeah,
of
it's
things.
happened for sure.
Yeah. And I feel like that's like pretty much sums it up. Like that is Pisces, like the generosity, the feeling, the intuition, the picking up on like the subtle energy, feeling big, feeling deep, you know, all of those things. You know, you're the steers person here for you is Jupiter. So I didn't mention this earlier, but I kind of mentioned it here. There's different astrological practices and like styles of astrology. I'm a little bit more rooted in what's called Hellenistic astrology, which is like very traditional. So, for example, like I know a lot of people have co-star. Co-star is not that. Co-star is not that at all. This is different than that. So if you hear me saying Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces and even Saturn is the ruler of, you know, Aquarius, that may be different than what you've heard because it's a different style of astrology. So anyway, so Jupiter is in Sagittarius in the 10th house. Jupiter in Sag is at home. Jupiter is one of the rulers of Sag as well. So it is the ruler of Sagittarius as well. So that means it performs well because of the sign that it's in. And Jupiter and Saturn, there's a lot of like similarities between the two. So, or excuse me, Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, like, it's a little similar to ninth house stuff, but not. It's very like the mind-blowing thing. Like, okay, I can't tell you exactly what or why, but I just know I have to go in this direction and follow this thing. So like, you know, Sagittarius is represented by the centaur. That's why it has like this little arrow glyph. So if you think of a centaur, they have this bow and arrow. And the bow and arrow is kind of like, okay, I'm going to stretch this bow and arrow, and wherever it feels right to stop and let it go, that's where we're going. And we'll just figure it out. Like that's the energy. And you know, it's very positive. Sagittarius is very optimistic, and Jupiter in Sagittarius is very optimistic and positive. And yes, we're going to do this. This is where we're going to go, and it's going to be awesome. And like just bringing that enthusiasm and that optimism, you know, to like what you do and where you go. With the 10th house has to do with public image. It has to do with career. So like that's the lane. Like that doesn't necessarily mean like you need to be a workaholic and you need to grind and all of this. It's just like, as long as I focus on my career or even vocation, it doesn't have to be career, it could be your vocation. Like this is what I want to, this is my legacy, this is what I want to leave in this world and what I want people to see, you know, and like this is what I'm like birthing into the world. It's this. As long as you just like focus on that, like that motivation and that purpose is like you're just in alignment with that. Any questions?
That's that. So keep going. This is yeah. I'll it's making me smile, just obviously not on the outside but inside too. It's just there's a lot that is really it confirms a lot. It's validating. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna move into like deciding which way to go. I'm gonna move into your moon. So you and Paula have the same moon. You have moon in Gemini. So
That makes sense.
yeah. There's that. You know, what's unique about your moon is that it's in the 4th house and not the 5th house. So the 4th house, so each of the houses that are directly across from each other are polarities. So this is public, this is career, this is how vocation, this is legacy. 4th house is private life, home, parents, ancestors, that kind of thing. Not partner, even though a partner and children even can like, you know, connect with home in some way. Partner is a separate house, but 4th house is home and private life. So for you to feel physically and emotionally like your needs are being met, it is like tending to home. What does home mean to me? What does sanctuary mean to me? How can I tend to a space and ensure that my space is providing me with the needs that I need in order to feel physically and emotionally secure? and just tending to that space and like really making it that.
Absolutely. That's my thing. It's almost like home is my sanctuary. I always say that. Like I'm always saying that out loud. I'm like, home is my sanctuary. Is what I like. Plants. You see these little guys right here. They're everywhere. They're all over my home. They bring peace. I look at them, they bring the nature inside. And sometimes I don't even want to be outside, but I know I can have it inside and have that same feeling, because I feel my safest and my most comfortable home and in private, and my sweats, and just hanging out. And like I used to love, of course I have the extroverted side, and I used to have that certainly a lot more when I was younger, but now it's all about how I make my home feel for me. It's like my sanctuary. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All right. So you sun in Virgo. Okay. So you have it in the seventh house, and seventh house has to do with partnership. And that could be romantic, that could be business, and that could be any significant one-to-one relationship you have in your life. Be a significant friend, colleague, just the one-to-one dynamic with those people. And so how you shine is being in partnership, and in that partnership you're great at like collaborating and tending to partnership. So even anything like, if, for example, if you, because this also has to do with like contracts and stuff like that. And it just I don't know, it just popped into my head. Like if there's ever a contract that needs to like you need to go through, or some agreements that need to be made, like that, like you're really great at that. Or you're like, okay, I can collaborate with this lawyer and we can talk through it together. You're like good at that, and like really finding the details so that it's like beneficial for you and beneficial for whoever it is that you're in some type of agreement or contract with or partnership with. I feel like, when I was looking at your chart, it's like when all that synastry started popping up, because I looked at your second, and you have, that energy of the sun here, and then you, Paula, you have the energy of the sun here. So like you're like part of that magic of like being in partnership. Like the eighth house builds upon the seventh house, because like if it's partnership, you're dependent on each other in some way, shape, or form. And Paula's like great at navigating like the interdependence. Like, am I relying too much? Are we relying, or is Chris relying too much? Or like, how come we like navigate that? And then Chris is great at like the negotiating, like, okay, well then let's put our heads together and let's like figure this out together. Like, how can we come to that middle ground so that we both feel like we're in this like ideally interdependent relationship and not codependent or too dependent on one another. And then you both have that moon in Gemini, which we kind of talked about earlier. So you both have that curiosity and asking questions and like, let's figure this out. Yeah, I don't know.
That makes a lot of sense.
Listen, that's fantastic.
Totally us. Right
It makes sense. It makes sense. It's confirmed. It's confirmed now. It's confirmed.
I was confirming.
Now it's confirmed.
Kind of knew something before.
Yeah, we knew something, but it's confirmed.
Now it's confirmed. Yeah.
That's so. It's really freaking cool, is what it is.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. So this was a mini reading what you did for us. You walked us through doing the meditation, which was fantastic. It felt soothing, because I was feeling, how we get the little jitters, the little butterflies we're talking to each other. All of that has gone away. I feel like we're just friends hanging out, having a conversation right now. So, and then we had this, and so, I mean, you really are creating a very unique space for people. I feel like this is just a bit more personal.
Yeah,
a
it
bit
kind of like
deeper.
I kind of feel like it confirms things that I knew about myself, but it kind of explains it a little bit more. Does that make sense? Like
It yeah. Best way to it confirmed, it was validating, and I know I've said that word already a few times, but it was very validating. And of course, more so with the partnership that I had with Paula in this, it was like, again, and as you were going through her chart, and I'm like, yep, all that. But again, it just kind of confirmed, and then it made me also think, like, how can I also be a better partner to her? How can I be maybe of service to her? Because especially now, on a personal level, she's making big changes, in her life, and like, how can I support her while she's going through that, and then while and still keeping up all these things these projects that we're doing.
Mm.
And it was validating, and it was good for me to hear. Yeah. So I think this just hits it on a deeper level for me.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
it felt like it digs deep, so
Yeah.
it helps
Deep
you
work.
understand more.
Deep work. Yeah. What would you tell someone that's never done this before and is thinking about it, is considering it? Because I know that there's also, the market is saturated with a lot of people that deliver false, unfortunately. And so what should they look for?
Yeah, I mean, they should look for, and this can get tricky too. So now I'm thinking about trauma again. Because I know I've spent money on people and it was a trauma response. Like that.
Sure.
And I'm like, I just wasted all my fucking money. But whatever. Those are lessons too. But anyway, um, what feels like a hello yes for you? Like, yes, I should definitely do this, or I'm curious enough to want to do it and like just explore this. And maybe it's just for fun and like whatever, we'll see what happens. Or maybe you're looking for something deeper, like, okay, I'm navigating this thing, like maybe astrology is a way of doing that. And like whether it's with me or somebody else, like whoever it is, it's like, who do you feel connected to? Who do you feel really speaks to like who you are and how you are? And I mean, I think it also comes back to like autonomy, like do you feel like if you were to connect with this particular person that like you're gonna have like your own sense of agency throughout the process too.
Yeah. That's well said.
Mm-hmm.
It's an excellent starting point for anyone that's considering, reaching out or looking into this practice. Because not everything obviously works for everyone. Not every form of self-care works for everyone.
For
But
sure.
I know that I can speak personally, though. This is something that I deeply connect with. So it works for me. It works for me. And also in how I can better serve, not just take care of myself, but how I can better serve others as well. That I'm directly like in partnership with, or, my spouse or coworkers, etc. So yeah, girl, you're the truth. You're the truth. Yeah, this has been
I have a
an
question.
absolute treat.
I have a question. Have you ever done a reading for two people at the same time like this?
I have done it during the pandemic. It was for a couple, and just kind of like supporting them with understanding, which is like kind of like what organically happened here, understanding like how each individual like operates and like what are potential challenges like within that, and what are like opportunities and what are strengths. And um yeah, it was like interesting having that, as they were able to like, one person's quirks, so like that the other person is annoyed by, they're like, oh, and they start laughing like, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, I understand now. Like, it's like it builds like that empathy too, like people are all different, and either we figure out how to navigate that or not. And I feel like that's kind of like what came up in that synastry. It's not something I like normally do, but a friend asked me and I was like, sure, let's do it.
So someone could request to have like
They
a
could.
couples, for example,
could.
or the partner.
Yeah,
That's pretty
absolutely.
cool.
Yeah, because I see where I could, you could use one of these readings as for personal growth, definitely, because it digs deeper into, knowing how you work. But it's pretty interesting because then someone that you're partners with that you could see, well, like basically what happened here.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. So it was pretty cool. So I was just curious to see if you had done it before, and I think people should think about doing it.
Doing
it with their partners, whether it be business partners or
Yeah.
Romantic partners.
It needs to be talked about more. Is what it is, and just be brought to light more. With that make it a normal practice. That it's okay to to know who you're about to embark on this journey or this thing with. Learn more about them. Not just about them, but how you can also be a better person for them. It's mutual. It's not just absolutely.
And then just to like state the obvious, because I sometimes like to state the obvious. Like if I were to do a synastry reading, it's like the other person would have to consent to it and be present.
Sure. Yeah.
I have been asked before with like, can we look at this other person's chart in the middle of a reading? And I was like, absolutely not. Like not consensual, not going to do it.
Well, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to do all of this and to do this for us. It certainly was a learning experience for me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It was awesome connecting with both of you.
Yeah, thank you. And we ought to do this a lot more. Or maybe we can, if you jump on a live, let us know if you ever. I saw your Instagram lives. They're good. Oh, listen, you get in there and you the last one, Paula had actually was like, did you see her live? And I looked at it and I'm like, this girl. That's why we immediately were like, we need to talk to her. We need to get her on and just talk to her. But next time you have a live, let us know. And I would love to just jump on and just on the moment. Cause that's amazing how you're able to do it just like that. Right. You have a natural gift.
Thank you.
You do. And again, thank you for sharing your story. And it's something that I also openly talk about. It's like trauma and how addressing it. And if you don't address it, it's going to address you. It's just how it works. And so whether it be this form, any kind of form, seek the help that you need.
Yeah. 100%.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Rebelize Change. We want to extend our deepest gratitude to our guest, Alex Cordovi, for sharing her invaluable insights on self-care and unique practice. To learn more about Alex's offerings, visit her website at moonalchemy.co. Currently, Alex is offering natal chart and year-ahead readings, which are perfect for those seeking deeper self-awareness and guidance. You can also connect with her on Instagram at moonalchemy.co. We hope you found today's episode as valuable as we did. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Until next time, stay inspired and keep being a rebel for change.